hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah.
Oh, I'm definitely going to treat myself to a cup of Karak right after the show because it is finally the end of the week. We're reaching the weekend vibes here at Pulse 95. And Aisha, what are you doing for the weekend?
Well, first of all, I'm actually doing something really cool on Saturday.
Okay.
I've actually signed up to a first aid course, so I'm going to be doing that for a couple of hours.
I think at one point in my life, I wanted to do something like this. I think we all should do that.
What's stopping you?
Well, you do it. You review it for me.
Review a first aid
Everything
course.
is a review for us.
Why not? I mean, that's what we did yesterday and we're going to do today as well. What about you?
Well, I'm just going to be grinding Ghost of Tsushima for next week's review. I can't hope to finish it because it really is a long game. But, I'll try to clock in a few more hours and give you guys a legitimate critique of the game.
That's going to be at the end of next week, hopefully, inshallah, on Wednesday, because I'm also going to be playing it starting from today, because that's what we do. We both play the game. We both watch TV shows and movies just to review it for you. And on Tuesday, I gave you a fact, which was about flamethrowers, and I had one yesterday.
Okay.
But when I came to the show, I forgot it. But I remembered it right now. I have to just quickly Google it just to confirm it. But it's just kind of a weird fact that I came across, and I'm like, I need to share it with you. Can you guess how many Grammys Alvin and the Chipmunks have?
Oh, that's going to upset me.
That's going to upset you.
Oh, man. At least 8 to 10.
5 Grammys.
5. They should even get one, to be honest.
But they did, somehow. I don't know.
I guess because it was something new back then and people went crazy for it.
But let's be honest. Which doctor deserves a Grammy?
Which doctor?
Remember the song? Ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah.
Listen, this is probably when I was like in my mid-teenage years.
I mean, so was I, but
I've repressed it already.
That song was the bomb. I had it on my iPod, I was jamming to it.
All right, fair enough.
Maybe you should revisit that, revisit that memory.
I'm not sure I want to open up that closet, but we'll see.
It's a closet you've thrown in the corner of your house.
Of bad taste.
Really far away. But we've got good taste over here. At least we think we do over here on the Afternoon Karak. We are going to review Cursed by Netflix coming up in the hour, and a celebration coming up next. But for now, we've got Tyler Parks, Dancing Alone.
Is it an epic or epic failure? The Big Review. Movies, games, and TV in focus.
Pulse 95.
So Mikhail and I have been practicing together in the break on how to say Arthurian legends.
Arthurian.
Oh my God, Mikhail.
Arthurian.
Say Arthur.
Arthur.
Ian.
Arthurian.
Oh my God. Never mind. We are talking about Cursed. We spoke about the teaser trailer all the way back in, was it in May or June?
Something like that,
It was actually in June. We weren't here in May yet. It was a while back.
There's so many Netflix shows you kind of tend to forget which one you're talking about.
Exactly. So that was also something I want to speak about as well, that somebody actually brought up this thing that I never thought of, and it was one of the reviewers. After I finished watching the entire series, I just was reading the reviews just to see if they had the same reaction to the show as well. And they said that, is it good or is it stuck at home really good?
Here's the when I'm about 7 episodes into the series. You finished it last night.
I finished it last night,
and I have to say right from the get-go, the show, it just feels decent. It's nothing great. It's no epic fantasy, but it does suffer from poor storytelling and sometimes writing. And I think it also affects some of the big characters in the series. Now, the whole show is about this character named Nemwe, who later becomes the Lady of the Lake, who travels with a mercenary named Arthur, who her quest is to take the sword, the Excalibur sword,
Yeah.
to Merlin the magician.
Here's the thing. The interesting thing in this story is that they don't outright say or call Excalibur. They call it the Sword of First King. So they take a
or
lot
Sword
of
of Power.
Sword of Power as
Yeah.
well. They take a lot of liberty to change some parts of the story, which we welcome. We always love reinterpretations of these legends because we've seen so many reiterations of them. So why not? So Catherine Langford plays Nimue and Devon Terrell plays Arthur. I do not like either of them. I felt that they were underwhelming. Of course, they are the romantic couple, and I felt up to like zero chemistry from them. I did not feel the passion, the hunger, the love. All of that was non-existent. This is something you expect out of the two main couple. Which is funny because I felt that with every other couple in the show itself, but them. Gustav Skarsgård plays Merlin, and I believe that he is everybody's favorite.
He is certainly. He caught my attention the second I saw him in the show. Everything from this roguelike character who is, you think Merlin, who's this legendary magician, just comes off as someone who's like similar to Jack Sparrow. Just he doesn't really care. He's nonchalant, but you can tell he carries a lot of dark secrets and past, and you just want to know more about him. But this is where the show really suffers from bad pacing, because when it comes to understanding what Nimue is and her purpose and finding Merlin, a lot of it is filled up with flashbacks that already kind of explain.
Yes, the flashbacks, exactly.
It was weird.
I felt the flashbacks were unnecessary. Like, we already know enough about her. There is only one flashback that was interesting, which was, okay guys, it's not exactly a spoiler, but kind of is. I'm going to say it anyway.
Okay, be careful.
Careful. Which was the bear attack when she was younger.
Yeah, okay.
That was the only flashback I felt was necessary to the entire story.
Everything else could have been told when these characters met with one another.
Yes.
And just said it through dialogue instead of waiting another episode to finally get a flashback that explains this. It's like certain characters are just not, they're forcing themselves not to actually tell important plot points, and it just feels irritating to watch. I'll be honest.
If you remember when I first started watching, because I started watching before you, and I told you that from the get-go, this is a 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10, because the first 4 episodes, or at least I'm going to say 1 to 4, maybe even 1 to midway through 5, is just a bunch of episodes I could have lived without. It just felt very dragging.
It was like a slow burner. You're like, when is this really going to pick up?
Get to the story, please. And I understand, because of course Nimue has a bunch of powers she's never come across, and it's very new to her. But you know how, you said it yourself, you know how in anime or when there's a character, like even in Marvel superheroes or any superhero, anything with newfound power or power they're not well accustomed with, they usually have those moments when they're terrified or they're scared or they're trying to protect somebody and something comes out, right?
Yeah.
There was a lot of opportunities when that could have happened.
Unleash the power and see her true potential.
Exactly.
And it just does it in very small moments. And next thing you know, she's considered, like later in the series, she's considered even a more important role in this huge war for the sword. And it's like, but it doesn't feel earned. This is the problem. Like, I don't see Nimue as a very important character, even though they build her up to be. Some of the moments, the key emotional moments, she's not able to sell it. So I think it's maybe the writing, or it's just the actor herself not being able to really push it. And that's where it just sort of takes me out of it, to be honest.
We're not done talking about Cursed. We have more to talk about. The Weeping Monk, Pym, Gawain, Squirrel, the Paladins, and of course Father Cardin. They're all important people going to be talking about after this short break, so stay tuned for our continuation of the review of Cursed.
This is Pulse 95.
Right before the break, Mikhail and I were reviewing Cursed, one of Netflix's newest fantasies. Let's talk about some of the messages we got. Ed says that they haven't watched Cursed yet, but their amazing loved one recommended it, so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really sorry, Ed, because I feel like we're butchering it for you, but we still think you should watch it. We'll get to the reasons why.
Yeah.
We also have another one from Mira. Hi, Mira. She says, hello, afternoon, Karak. How are you? We're doing great. We're doing well. She is very happy that we're talking about Cursed. She says she still has 3 episodes left, just like Mikhail.
Yeah.
But the one thing she's certain is Nimue and Arthur are so annoying. We agree with that. They got on her nerves every time they appear on screen. She likes Merlin and the Weeping Monk, which we do as well. They're interesting, complex characters. Huge fan of Gustav Skarsgård and Daniel Sherman. Their performance is amazing, and I agree with that totally. She's enjoying it. It's decent to her. She says that she's seen better fantasies, and we agree with it totally. The Weeping Monk, fantastic. His arc, I'd say, begins the last 3 episodes when it just starts beginning.
Yeah.
And trying not to ruin it, but he does have some chemistry with one of the characters you'd think is very small, and then you'd be like, actually, they are very cute together because they have some sort of adorable relationship that happens later on.
Yeah.
That makes me actually want to watch season 2 just for those two. As for Merlin, like you said, he is fantastic and all. There's one character that I hated at the beginning, but I began to love.
Who?
And that is because it begs the question, who is the actual antagonist? And in my eyes, the actual antagonist of the entire series is Iris.
Oh.
The little girl. Okay,
oh my God, she played like a small role in, I think, episode 3 or 4.
But then she slowly grows and grows and grows. And again, I'm trying not to ruin it. And I'm pretty sure you've seen her, how she's very cunning. She's a child, but she's very cunning and very terrifying in comparison to Father Cardin, who he's a very apparent sort of, the whole, I'd say general / priest.
Cult leader kind of guy.
Cult leader who has a massive ego. What I didn't like about his story and the entire story is that it's centered in some real life things, because the story is very fantasy-like.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about the Holy Roman Empire. You're talking about, I believe, was it Charlemagne? Yeah, Charlemagne, Constantinople, Byzantium. And you're like, but aren't we in a fantasy world? Why are we taking real life places? It felt like a disconnect, to be honest.
I know what you mean. The world building goes a little bit out of hand because you don't know where these locations are at. And at times, some of these characters, I won't spoil it, but there's a point in the story where like Nimue and Morgana.
Yeah, Morgana.
Morgana and Kaze, they show up at a part of the world.
Yes, the
that
battlefield.
I felt like, how did you get there? At what time? And how? Like, it's just, there are times that there's no real explanation, logical narrative for these characters to actually show up at certain points in the story. And so that for me is like, again, that's poor writing. You did not stay to a consistent pacing here, because at one moment they're down in a dungeon, next thing you know they're up in the battlefield. Like, how did this happen?
And even just like what was happening in the battlefield, they just outright say something very brief about the mythology and whatnot, which also brings us back to the mythology and the legends.
It's very complicated.
Very complicated.
Without much explanation. A lot of it is really your personal guess.
Yeah.
And you're just hoping that things clear up when characters probably give you exposition or certain scenes provides more information, but it stays a mystery. And I don't know if that's intentional or it's just the writers not being able to cover that side of the supernatural elements of the story.
But is it intentional if it is? And I still say that that's bad writing, because I couldn't help but compare it to The Witcher, because that's the last big fantasy world we were thrown into by Netflix.
Yeah.
And it had beautiful world building. Yes, at the beginning it was very confusing. You saw how it was non-linear.
Actually, the best part about Witcher is that every episode it explored a particular monster.
Yes.
And gave you the history behind it and their behavior and why that monster was the way it was. And then it goes on to the next one, building its world consistently and at a good pace. But this one, it's all over the place. There's shadow lords, there's supernatural omens, there's visions, there's flashbacks, and you're like, what's going on and how?
Tell us more about the Fae folk. Who are the Sky folk? Who are the ones with the antlers? It's just very confusing.
I still don't know who the Faes are. Who are the Faes?
Exactly. Who are the Faes?
Oh my God, they're the most important clan of people in the story.
Mikhail is very frustrated. So, final verdict, Mikhail.
Final verdict is Cursed is an interesting and a decent reimagination of the Arthurian legend, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like an epic fantasy. It feels like a teen drama.
Well, it is.
That's how I'm comparing it, to
It
be
is
honest.
based on a book, and I believe it's a young adult book, but that doesn't mean that young adult books cannot provide very deep, provoking, and beautiful, big, fantastical worlds. It can do that, but I believe it must have been just a bad book to TV adaptation. So for me, it's 6 out of 10. The only reason I would keep on watching is because the finale was fantastic. Actually, the last bit was fantastic. I want to know more about Merlin. I want to know more about the Weeping Monk, and I want to know more about everybody but Arthur and Nimue. Guys, tell us your review of Cursed. 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 5 out of 10. Whatever it is, we'd love to hear from you. We're going to take a bit of a break. We're going to be back with more talk, more fun right here on the Afternoon Karak.
Pulse 95. You're listening to Pulse 95. Pulse 95.
It's Pulse 95.